ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. Okay, welcome everybody to our daily Q&A session here, questions and answers. We invite everybody to come sit down and bring forward questions. We try to provide decent answers. And the floor is open. We're looking for a question. Who would like to start the evening off? It always takes one brave soul to get it started. Yes.
Can I not use the mic?
Oh, the mic is so important.
We need for the recording.
Okay. I want to ask how to let go a person in the most healthy and loving way. Let go of a person, of another person. Truly let go without just blocking something inside, without avoiding the grief and the pain. Truly let go and truly still love person. That's the question.
Now, one thing I need to be clear about from the beginning. I'm a bhakti yogi. I'm not a relationship counselor or those kind of things. But these things relate. So I'll share the perspective of a yogi, and then you can take that and see if there's something there for you. Usually, the answers to our questions involve adopting a new perspective. And by perspective, perspective means you can view something from one angle or from another angle. You can view something from from like a zoomed in perspective or a zoomed out perspective. And what the yogis do for us a lot, and what the sacred texts of yoga do for us a lot, is they help us zoom out. They help us, when we're moving through life, especially when it's emotional life, we tend to be very zoomed in. Then we pick up these books and they help us zoom out. They help us realize that in terms of time, this is a very tiny, tiny, tiny speck of experience in a line that goes forever into the past and forever into the future. And if we remember that, then sometimes the things that seem so big start to seem very small. And so one has to, the yogis can do this. Yogis are peaceful. You've heard about this, right? They're the things that rock the lives of other people. The yogis keep this samatvam, this evenness of mind. And so that it's that zoomed out perspective that they learn to see through at will. And it makes what seems like a big bump to someone else a little bump, very small bump, something that's very tolerable and not disturbing. Now, with a relationship, we invest a lot of our hope into the relationship. We think that I think I found someone that I can share happiness with. And there's nothing wrong with sharing happiness with another person. It's a wonderful thing. It's a natural thing. But when we think that the person is the source of my happiness, one person is looking at the other and saying, I want to derive happiness from my relationship with them. And the other person is looking at them and saying, yes, this is going to be the source of, particularly with romantic relationships, we really think this is where my happiness lies. It doesn't matter anything else that goes on. As long as I have this, I'll have happiness. The yogis speak of it in a different way. Particularly the bhakti yogis. Some paths of yoga would say this relationship is destined to cause suffering because it's based on form. It's based on individuality, duality. And these things necessarily bring suffering. That's one school of Vedanta. But another school says there's no problem with form. There's no problem necessarily with form. There's no problem necessarily with individuality. Particularly with this individuality. If one partner is seeing the world revolves around them and the other partner is seeing the world in the same way, then eventually there's going to be some kind of conflict. But what if they were both moving together around a center? Then they could remain harmonious. And so this is the idea in a spiritual relationship. It's not that I look at you and say that from you I'll get my happiness, but it's like together we will move forward in finding the happiness that is our own true nature. So it's like two people holding hands moving in the same direction towards the truth. Or you could, in Bhakti Yoga, ultimately towards divine love. Then now the expectations are they're down. It's not you. If I'm not happy, it's not your fault. I'm not feeling happy and you were supposed to fulfill that in me. Now we have a problem. There's something wrong in our relationship. We need to talk about this. No, it's that we're both working together, helping one another, assisting one another with the same spiritual goal, moving towards it together. The happiness that we each seek is within ourselves. It's not through the other person. And this is, maybe this is even more difficult in parenthood, because the parents, the how their hearts are invested in their children. And it's not like if the relationship with the children doesn't work out, they just go and get some other children, which can happen in the romantic relationships. But with the children, it's like the whole heart is invested. And for some time, the children are happy to receive their love and share. But then they hit these teenage years or so, and they start to think for themselves. And it can be really difficult. And generally, there's a period of time where the parents feel like, they've changed and they don't accept my love anymore. They don't know if it'll ever come back again. Usually it comes back after some time. But the parents really have to understand. There's have you ever seen in India when they do ceremonies like with a fire, and they're offering grains and ghee into the fire? So the fire is representing Lord Vishnu, and offerings are being made. And there's a chant that they say with each offering. They say what's being offered, and they say, this is for you. If it's for Krishna, Krishnaya, like this, they say, Krishna, for you, namama, not for me. And this namama, not for me, is something that through you practice seeing the world through the ritual. Okay, whatever we're offering, what is ghee? Ghee is something, there's a seed, a grass seed, and it's watered by the clouds, and it grows into grass, and then the cow, the most fascinating creature, can eat that grass and transform it into milk. And then within that milk, there's this ghee. There's a way you can turn it into yogurt, you can turn it into butter, you can cook it down, and then you get this purified ghee. This is like liquid gold, incredibly nutritious, incredibly flavorful. You don't even have to refrigerate it; it can just sit there. And it's considered a very valuable gift of nature. And then when we offer, we say, "This is for you." It was never mine; it passed through my care. But really, this entire world is yours, to God, the one whose energy it is. There's nothing in this world that we really created. Even if, like, say I gave you $10 million and I said, you've got 1 month to create something. Like, what would be the most fantastic thing you could create? I don't know what I would come up with, but whatever it would be relatively small and insignificant. But the Vedic scriptures are telling us that from the mind of one being manifests everything. And it's all, this energy is coming from one source, the original owner of it all. When we move in harmony with that being, with that supreme truth, we find our natural nature arises. Otherwise, we're resisting that. And so that means everything is yours. There's a way that you can live where you wake up one day and you realize, I'm not doing anything based on my own independent desires. I'm just moving according to whatever door God opens up, I take it. right? Whatever major decisions I make in life, and even on an hour-to-hour basis, you do what you feel would please God. You act as an instrument of God, and when one lives that way, all the anxiety goes away. Nothing is mine. Everything belongs to God. My time, my body, my words, my mind, I offer it all. This is the vision of the bhakti yogi, or the vision of the sadhu or the saint. And so that goes right down to the children. That goes right down to the relationships. You're not mine. Maybe that's the hardest one with the children. You're not mine. Nature will come and force us to understand it at some point in our life. But if we're wise, we learn to let it go. To let it go. And always remember this, that a fundamental feature of the wise person, of the sage, is called antasukha. The conviction that my happiness is not dependent on anything external, but it's something that's within me, that I can feel within. When you have that conviction, you can start the practice of letting go. You let go knowing that actually, until I let go, I'll never be able to find it within. It's kind of like you have your 1 foot on the land and 1 foot on the boat, and the boat's starting to go. Oh, if the boat's starting to drift off, you got to choose. Am I going to go to the land, or am I going to go into the boat? And we need to choose. Am I going to hang on to materialistic aspirations for my happiness, or am I going to let go of that and jump on the spiritual boat and say I'm going to trust in God? But to develop that trust, you really need one needs to really be more and more enriched by hearing about that source that we're placing our trust in. Otherwise, it's kind of like we like the sentiment, but we're not informed enough to do it with confidence. So you read Bhagavad Gita, you read Srimad Bhagavatam, you begin to understand, you zoom out, you see who you are, you see who God is, and your confidence begins to grow. And you take little steps of letting go of this and letting go of that and letting go of this, and then you're more prepared to let go of the big things. And those things that rock people right to the core, you go right through them with a peaceful mind. I have many friends that are like strong yogis, strong bhakti yogis, and I see them go through the most painful episodes in life, and I see them do it with grace, because they're so prepared for it, because they're discussing their own nature, they're discussing the nature of this world, they're discussing the nature of God every day. And when when that difficult time comes, they see it as, now all that I've been talking about, now I'm being tested. How can I pass through it? I've seen people pass through death fearless. I've seen people go through all those very difficult things, divorce. I do a podcast with a friend of mine, and up until recently, we did it for 5.5 years, every day podcast. And we would read Srimad Bhagavatam together live with a live audience and then broadcast it. And during this period, my friend went through a divorce, and he had to show up every morning and do this podcast. And that's a hard thing to do when you're really feeling pain. When you come home for the first time to an empty house, no wife there, no kids there, you want to cry, and you don't want to get up and have to speak publicly. But I really commend my co-host, because rather than try to hide it, he just openly discussed it, and he openly discussed it from a yogic perspective. And he really was saying, if I didn't have this spiritual understanding, I would be so lost right now. It's hard. It's not easy. But I know, but deep down inside, I know who I am. And I know that I can transcend this. So this Divya Jnana, this spiritual knowledge, it helps so much. Because with knowledge comes detachment. And with detachment comes peace. And so I know I'm saying these things, and I know it's not easy. But I recommend people read Bhagavad Gita every day. That's a yoga path. People do asana every day. Read Bhagavad Gita every day. All glories to asana. Asana is a beautiful practice. But when you get into that challenge in life, it's likely that the wisdom of this tradition is going to come to your aid more than anything. And that's something that if we cultivated just like you do asana on a daily basis, if you cultivating that wisdom on a daily basis, it'll be there for you. And it'll be your greatest friend in your times of need. I hope that was helpful. Thank you very much. My heart is with you. These things are so hard. We all cry and cry and cry. We don't know how many lifetimes we've been through, and we don't know how many tears we've cried. There's one verse in the sacred text that says there's like an ocean of tears that we're all going through. There's not one person here, and we can keep making the circle bigger and bigger and bigger. Everybody's crying from the pain that we experience in this world. These relationships, we hope for so much, and even with wonderful people, they still, one way or another, we're separated and it causes pain. All these tears. Let the tears flow. Go ahead and feel the pain. But if you can do it knowing that you're beyond it, and if you can do it knowing God is, that in one sense you're never alone, that God is always right here in the heart. Sometimes God makes us be alone. Because if we're not, we don't turn to Him. We turn everywhere else. We turn wherever we're finding our temporary shelter. And He's saying, don't forget me. I'm the true shelter. But you keep turning away from me. Maybe if things were adjusted a little bit, you turn back. And so a lot of times why these sannyasis, these renunciates, they walk into the forest alone is so that they can realize that they're never alone. That God is in the heart all the time. And until you're alone, you tend to not turn back and look. So in this way, the yogis that have this idea that God is in the heart of every living being, then they never feel like this is a random painful event. They feel God is moving the world in such a way to help me turn back. And this becomes a huge, huge solace for the soul. Try to see the world that way if you can. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Yes, in the back.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. It's working? Yeah. I just want to know, like, who we are, like why we are here. Like, for everyone has a different opinion, different answers for this question, and sometimes we get an answer that you have to find it yourself, who you are, why you are here. So I just want to know, like, who we are.
There's so many ways I could answer that question. And the fact is, we all do need to find this out on our own. But it doesn't mean that we can't hear it from somewhere. But then we need to realize it. There's a verse, jīva-svarūpa hoya, Krishnera nityadasa. It's speaking about who are we? Jīva-svarūpa hoy. What is the svarūpa, the true form of the jiva, of the soul? Jīva-svarūpa hoya, Krishnera nityadasa. Nitya means always, eternal. Dasa means the servant, and in this case, really the loving servant. Krishnera nityadasa, the loving servant of Krishna. I'm going to speak to you from the perspective of the Bhagavad Gita, from the perspective of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is that every living being has an eternal connection to God. Every living being has a connection of love with God. But we may be realizing it or we may not be. When we're realizing it, we don't even have to ask the question, who am I? But when we turn away from it, we go down a path and we move through this material world, and it's a path of taking on body after body after body. We're doing two things. We're trying to live independent from our connection with God. Searching for shelter, searching for happiness in a million different places, in a million different forms. So on one hand, it's a world for us to try to enjoy, almost like a playground, almost like a virtual reality. But at the same time, it's moving in such a way to cause us to not get entirely lost in it, and it's nudging us to turn back and try to find out. There's a this text, Srimad Bhagavatam, it tells an interesting story. You're familiar with Narada, the sage Narada? It's one great sage, Narada Muni. Okay, so Narada travels and he touches so many lives, all levels of people. One day he was helping a king. The king's name was Prachini Barhi. And this is fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. King Prachini Barhi, sometimes when you're trying to help a friend, trying to help someone, you have to tell the story of someone else, because if you told them directly, they would resist hearing it. So he was telling the king his own story, but telling it as if it was another fictional king. And he talks about another king who lives a life of material enjoyment. He goes up and down. He enjoys life, and then he suffers. And then he enjoys it, and then he suffers. And he goes through this path. And then he dies. And in his next life, he's born as a woman, as a queen. And then that queen goes through her life of material enjoyment, ups and downs, happiness, and then distress. And her distress fully manifests is when her husband, the king, dies. Because her husband gave her love, gave her affection, gave her shelter, gave her a great opulent life. And when the king dies, suddenly all of that's gone. Suddenly she has no idea what will happen to me now. And she's standing in front of the funeral pyre of her husband, watching her husband's body burn, crying, feeling grief. And at that moment, someone approaches her. And that someone is kind of dressed as a brahmana, as a wise man. And that wise man approaches her and says, "Don't you recognize me?" Now this person appearing as the wise man represents the Paramatma, God within the heart of every living being. Right? The sacred texts tell us that every living being that's alive, whether it's a human being or an animal or even a plant, God accompanies that soul within the body that they're in. And when they leave that body and take on a new one, that Paramatma goes along with them and is with them there. We're never separate from God, not for a moment. But we forget it. We get lost in this world. This Paramatma came forward to the woman at that time. "Don't you remember me? I'm your old friend. We've been together for a long, long time and have many adventures together. And we're very far from our original home." And then he says, together we've taken on many different bodies. We've been men, we've been women, we've been this, we've been sinner, we've been saint, we've gone through I followed you through all these different positions that you've been in. You're always trying to taste the world without me, right? But he approaches her at that time of her greatest suffering. And isn't it at those times that we often turn to God, that we often, at that point when life really creates some suffering for us, we say, enough. We turn and we begin to pray. Maybe we haven't prayed for years, right? So the idea is that we have Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. This is Upanishads. Amongst the unlimited millions of Nityas, eternal beings, there's one eternal being. Chaitanas Chaitananam. Amongst the unlimited conscious beings, there's one conscious being. And all the many are dependent on the one. All the many are connected to the one. All the many are nourished and given vitality by the one central being. Not just an ordinary person, but an unlimited source of our existence, of our happiness, of our own true nature. That's God. So we're all like the leaves on the tree God is like the root that's nourishing us all. We're turning away from that. And it's kind of like, you asked, why are we here? I've been sharing this example, some of these this analogy. But when a father has a little boy, let's say 3 years old, what the father does, the little boy wants to do. If the father is driving a car, then the little boy wants to drive the car. But the little boy can't drive the car. So the little boy wants a position that he's incapable of, that reality will not facilitate. So, but the father wants to fulfill the desire of the son. So reality won't fulfill it. So he needs to provide an illusion. So he creates an illusory car. He gets a cardboard box and he draws some wheels on it, and the little boy can sit in there, and now he's in an illusory car because he wanted what reality wouldn't provide. That's why we're here. Because we want that central root of all existence, that central being that everything is revolving around. We're perfectly situated in bliss when we're revolving around that, when we're connected. But we may say, what is it like to be the central being? And then because reality doesn't facilitate that, we get illusion. And that's the world that we're in. And we're trying on this outfit and we're trying on that outfit. And there's a law of karma that's operating in this, that's rewarding us and then taking away what was rewarded. And we're going up and down, trying on new outfits, trying on new bodies, trying out new circumstances, trying out new identities, false identities, to taste it, to taste it, to taste it. Sometimes it tastes sweet. Sometimes it tastes bitter. This is also the Upanishads, right? Situated in the heart, it's just like a branch of a tree with two birds on it. One is the soul, or ourselves, and that bird is trying to taste the fruits of the tree, sometimes sweet, sometimes bitter. And right next to that bird is another bird that represents God, the Paramatma in the heart. And that bird isn't trying to taste the fruits. That bird has no interest in the things of this material world. That bird is beyond it, but out of compassion, waiting for that other bird to turn around and to take it out of the material realm. So that is what we're doing here. And we're fortunate that we have this understanding that we can really make sense of it all. Because otherwise, if it wasn't for these texts, we really wouldn't know. But if one embraces this idea and begins to try to move towards God, bring their awareness to the divine, they'll feel the pressures of this world become lighter, 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 lighter. It's not that they go away, but that we cross over them. This is good for your question too. What is it? Bhagavad Gita, towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, much chita sarvadurgani, mat prasadat tarishyasi. If you remain conscious of me, by my grace, you will cross over all the obstacles of this world. He doesn't say the obstacles will disappear, but if you remain conscious of God, if you can zoom out and understand, I'm not in the center of everything. If you can remain conscious of God, by his mat prasadat, by my grace, you'll cross over all the obstacles in this life. It can be done. Is that okay? Thank you. It's a good question, sincere question. Very well. Very good. Good questions tonight, you people. Do we have another question? Yes.
But why? Why we want to taste it? We can't taste everything. Why we want to taste it again and again and again?
To answer that question, we have to go, again, step back and try to understand what is the nature of the self. The yogis will say that every object that exists has its purpose, is designed for a particular purpose. This microphone was designed with a particular purpose in mind, right? It could be used for so many things, but its purpose is to amplify sound. And when it's amplifying sound, it's situated in its purpose. Or in the language of the yogis, we would say it's situated in its dharma, its purpose or its very essence, right? In essence, this is a sound amplifier. That's its essential nature. they're saying like this, there's not an object in existence that doesn't have a purpose. So the biggest question then becomes, what is the purpose of the self? What is the nature of the soul? What were we designed for? And so that's called the jiva dharma, the dharma of the self. And it's said that the nature of the self, what we're designed for, is ultimately divine love. We're made to love. And if you think about it, you'll see that's why we're always talking about it. That's why all the songs are about it. That's why all the movies are about it. We all feel an emptiness if we don't feel love in our life, because we were designed for that. This is the Bhakti Yogi's presentation of this. So, love, for love to exist, there has to be freedom, right? You can't make somebody love you. You can't tie them up and say, now love me. They have to come to it by their own will. Otherwise, it's not love. It's just some kind of coercion. So therefore, if we're designed for the purpose of love, we're also designed with freedom, with free will. And with that free will, we can use it in ways that are beneficial for us, or we can use it in ways that bring us... We can use our free will in such a way where that's healthy for us, and satisfying for us, and nourishing for us. Or we can experiment with other directions, and sometimes they're painful, or they cause suffering. But that freedom has to be there. And we see when people have freedom, a lot of times they do things that aren't good for themselves. It's not uncommon. It's just kind of part of what comes along when you grant someone freedom. For some people, it's a very smooth path, and for other people, it becomes a rough path. But eventually, they can reconnect and have the freedom to turn back. So it's not... You're asking one of the broadest philosophical questions you can ask, but I hope that's something to work with. Is that okay? Okay. Well, it's the best I can do. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. You know, sometimes we're talking about breakups earlier. Sometimes there's a breakup in a romantic relationship. Let's say the girl breaks up with the boy. And then she says, don't call me. Don't text me. Don't follow me on social media. This is over. I don't want to hear from you. And he's like, but I love you. I don't want to hear from you. And then he has to say, okay, I won't call. I won't text. Right? So we can do that with God too. We can say, I don't want to hear from you. I want to travel through this world and experience it on my own. And then we wonder, why am I here? But we're not getting the message because we said we didn't want it. And God isn't this controlling kind of control freak. He'll grant that freedom. And it may take someone else to bring the message. What are you doing? You could just turn back. You could just reconnect and feel all that vitality again.
In every life, we come here to taste something else, to get another message, right?
That sounded like... I'm not sure if I understood, because that sounded like two different things. On one hand, yes, we want to taste something else. And on another hand, we may get a message, or the message may be repeated. Yes.
What is the end?
The end is the reconnection. This is Bhagavad Gita. Krishna saying, Nitya yukta, satatam yukta anam. Always remain connected to me. Reconnect with me. Stay connected to me. Like that. That's the end. The end is when the love is restored. The end is when the soul can receive love, when the soul is open to receive the love. Sometimes, we'll imagine this. Imagine that there's two parents and they have a young child. And they love the child and they've given the child so much. And maybe they've given the child a little too much. The child's a little spoiled. And the child's also ignorant. The child doesn't really understand all the parents, what they do for the child. And sometimes the child acts selfishly. And the parents, in order to correct the child, they say, if you can't learn to behave more nicely, then we're going to have to punish you so that you'll learn a lesson. And that just makes the child more upset. And then the parents say, I'm sorry, but, no television for the next month, or no this or no that, whatever it is. And now the child becomes very angry. Now, why did the parents punish the child? Because if the child doesn't understand who they are and that the world doesn't revolve around them, then they're going to suffer. Right? They need to understand the truth. They need to put everything in the proper perspective. Otherwise, they'll be so selfish and self-centered that they won't be able to enjoy happiness in life. What to speak of love, the highest happiness, which love is all about selflessness, caring about the other. And so they punish the child because they want the child to be able to ultimately to experience the happiness of love. But the child doesn't see this as... The punishment was love itself. The punishment was an expression of love. If they didn't care about the child, they wouldn't even need to bother. But the child misperceives it and sees it as hatred. And then the child responds by saying, I hate you. Right? So there's this tension now in the relation. The love is being offered, but it's not being understood or received. Right? After some time, the child begins to realize they're more powerful than me. There's a higher power. And if I don't cooperate with that higher power, I suffer. They impose punishments. That punishment is the law of karma. Right? It's that if we act a certain way, we get a reaction. Right? Now the child they still don't have full knowledge of the parents, who they are, or their love. But they have a bit more understanding of the universe that they're living in. That if I behave in ways that are selfish, pain comes my way. And if I behave in a way that's more selfless, then doors open up for my pleasure and my happiness. They've understood this much. Much of the Vedic literatures are just to get someone to come to that level. The four Vedas are basically speaking, be a good person in this world and get good things in this world. They're not talking about developing prema, love of God. They're talking about just being a better person in this world. And they're given rewards or punishments to try to come up. And so this child is living in this world. If sometimes my parents reward me when I please them, I recognize they're more powerful. Sometimes they punish me when I act in ways that are selfish and displease them. But at a certain point, they may say, I don't need to play these games anymore. Trying to do something good to get something good. I realize that the things that they're giving me, I don't need them to be happy. But they also remain aloof from the parents. They still haven't understood the love of the parents. But they're just not interested in playing this game of rewards and punishments anymore. And that's like coming up to the level of jnana where you become detached, but also aloof from God. But there may be some message that they receive. Sometimes the parents are the last person that they're ever going to be able to hear it from. The parents have said so many times, I love you, I love you. And the child won't hear it. They've developed an aversion for the parents. But maybe there's another person that they're more open to hearing from. Like, for instance, sometimes an aunt or an uncle who understands, who they've never been punished by. They've only received affection from. Affection in a non-painful way, let's say. So they'll hear from that person, and that person can explain, don't you understand? Don't you understand everything that your parents have been doing for you has been because they love you? You don't even know all what they've done for you. I could tell you so many ways that they've sacrificed their comforts in life, their freedom in life, their money, their time, because they care about you and love you so much. They're providing everything for you. Don't you understand? And when they were punishing you, it wasn't because they hated you. It wasn't because they were on some kind of power trip. They were trying to help you because they love you. And then maybe it can sink into the child's mind, especially when you grow older, and especially when you have your own kids. then you begin to realize it. And then their heart opens up. And when their heart opens up, they say, they understand. They may apologize. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry for the way that I turned my back on you. I couldn't understand at the time. Now I understand. Now the heart opens up, and the love that was there all along, for the first time, they're feeling it. It was always there, but now they're actually experiencing it. And now their love is going back to the parents. And so there's a reciprocal connection of love and love going back and forth between the two. And this was their dharma. This is the nature, the self is this love. So we may turn away. We may resent what's happening to us in this world. We may not be able to see that it's all designed to bring us back to a reconnection of divine love. But that's what's happening all along. And so the world is moving. Sometimes it's if our behavior is more sensitive towards others, more kind, more generous, the material world rewards us with according to the law of karma, with greater pleasure in this world. If we act out of selfishness and miserliness and callousness to others, then we feel some pain. And when we feel that pain, there are two ways we can turn. There's two ways we can go with it. Either I hate God, or there is no God, or maybe I need to reconsider how I'm living. Maybe I'm missing the point. Maybe I need to open up to something else. And so that's, I don't know, maybe that can help. That perspective could be helpful.
This is the purpose.
Yes, there you go. That's it right there. This is the purpose. Yes. Back and forth, loving connection. Thank you. Thank you very much. Haribo. Oh, yes, sorry.
I kind of want to add to his question. Too bad he's going. Yes, I was wondering if your question originally was, is there an end to the cycle of lives? Yes. Yeah.
Well, the end is the reconnection. The end is when that love is felt. Then one can stop changing bodies, trying on new identities separate from God, and one's original identity is awoken. Did you see the film The Matrix?
No, but I hear about it.
Okay. I saw it. I don't remember every scene, but if I remember correctly, the idea was that all the people of the world have been, like, their bodies are being used as batteries. And so they're all sitting in like these kind of test tube kind of things, but they're connected to a virtual reality. So they don't realize that they're sitting in the test tube. Their body is kind of asleep, and they're living in a virtual world. Their real identity is in that test tube, but they're living in another virtual body outside of it. In a sense, that's what's happening with us. That we have a true identity that's ready to wake up and live in love and in bliss with God. But it's kind of waiting for us to reconnect, to step back into that identity and wake up. And so if you want descriptions of that, then you read a text like Srimad Bhagavatam, where it describes all the different varieties of relationships that one can have with God in a personal form. And really, this world is reflections of those relationships. Whether it be, it'll go, if you take, are you familiar with the Srimad Bhagavatam? Have you heard of it before? A bit. It's 18,000 verses. Sanskrit verses. It's called the cream of the cream of all of the Vedic literatures, of all of the ancient sacred texts of India. If you churn them, and then churn them still again, then you get the richest of all the spiritual teachings. And the And then of those 18,000 verses, one section of it tells the life story of Krishna. But not just of Krishna, but all of those that Krishna loves and all of those that love Krishna. So Krishna's devotees. And you see all the different varieties of ways that he is loved and the ways that he reciprocates with that love. And so these great, brilliant sages analyze these relationships and the nature of the consciousness, the yogic consciousness that this is all taking place in. So especially there's like one relationship of love is like you love someone like always that they're your superior. Like for instance, did you ever have a teacher in your life that you really loved? Right? So generally the relationship with the teacher is always student to teacher, is always kind of like respect going up and a certain kind of affection coming down. And there's a beauty in that particular flavor, like that. There's a beauty in that type of love. Now another type of love is friendship, like real close friendship. And real close friendship, it's not like one is up high and one is down low. That may be there in a subtle way. Sometimes, like a big brother. The big brother is a friend of the little brother, but with a little bit of protection, a little bit of care going one way, and a little bit of awe, wow, my big brother, he's so cool, he's amazing. A little bit of awe going up. So there's a blend in that flavor. But in general with friendship, it's equality. Right? It's equality. And then there's another type of love, the love that a parent has for a child. And for the full parental love to arise, the parent actually has to feel superior to the child. Superior in the sense that they need me. I don't need them to survive. They need me. I need to care for them. I need to provide for them. My love is expressed in that way. So now, when that relationship is with God, you're actually feeling superior to God, that God is dependent on me. And then in the romantic relationship, it kind of has elements of all of this. And it's the most intense and the most nuanced in it. And so there's a great amount of literature that really analyzes the varieties of ways that one can love God. And so what is the end game? Where does it all end? It ends when your own specific special love for God awakens in you. And the form that you awaken in is perfectly suited to share that love with the divine. It's a very esoteric question in one sense. And you can't answer it without going into an esoteric answer. Is that okay? All right. Thank you very much. Is that all for you? That's okay. Thank you. Okay. More questions. Such a nice group here today. Did you have a question from this morning? No? Okay. Anyone else? I can wait here very patiently. But don't keep me waiting too long. Yes?
So essentially, this is my observation in a couple of days in question answer sessions. People really want to know the higher end of it suddenly, and they want to, what is the truth and what is the ultimate thing. But I think the issue is that we should start with, the basics and go all along, and the doors start opening up, and then you finally realize that. So a lot of people want to know in one session as to what is the essence and why we live and why God is there and what is God doing and what are we doing. So that could be something very typical for you to answer, because it's just not possible to explain that in a couple of sentences and words. So I can understand, because this is the way I was actually. I wanted to know in very quick words as to what it is and tell me now, Then I started reading, and now after a year's time, now I realize that, that things have started opening up and I have become a more matured and a better person. So this happens with time, I believe. So whatever offhand questions people ask sometimes, I really feel that maybe the time doesn't permit and you have that 5 minutes to answer all that. So it would be a very difficult job for you, I'm sure. Thank you.
You're a very empathic person. Yes, but what you're saying is absolutely true. The frame of reference has to expand in order to fill in all the details. And at the same time, yes, we have to begin, but if we can begin with some idea of the end in sight too, then that's also helpful. So yeah, but that's observant of you. Thank you. Okay, please have a question. Yes.
It's just in relation to that. I think it goes something like, "Oh, hey, Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava, he reasons ill."
He reasons ill. Who says he reasons ill? Who says that Vaishnavas die when they are living still and sound?
And living spread the holy name around. So I was just asking you, my question is if you could shed a bit of light on the dying to live. They're good.
Okay, thank you. They brought up a very beautiful piece of poetry that speaks about the nature of a bhakti yogi or a Vaishnava. And that verse it was composed by a great saint named Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He said, he reasons ill. In other words, someone who's not understanding. He reasons ill who says that Vaishnavas die, that bhakti yogis die. They don't die. He reasons ill who says that Vaishnavas die when they are living still and sound. When they leave a message through their words that lives on, that they continue to live through. And so the idea there is that, especially when it comes to spiritual teachings and sharing spirituality, that a great saint their body may be gone, their external manifestation may be gone, but we actually have access to them through their words. They are living still and sound. Through their words, you can know them in a very real way. In a very real way. So he reasons ill who says that Vaishnavas die while they are living still and sound. Vaishnavas die to live. And in living, try to spread the holy name around, like we have going on here. You want to? Yes, it was the die to live part that I believe you were interested in.
So just so what I wanted to clear up was dying to live. Does that mean like they're finished with this material world even while they're living? Sorry, that was.
I think you're onto something. I believe that that's a large part of what he meant. I believe, and not only that, it could be more than that. So let me share some of my thoughts on that. Yeah, that they die to live, meaning their material ego dies. The material identity dies. Something in us has to die for something else in us to live. And yes, exactly. And the more that we embrace the false ego, the more that we're convinced, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm American, I'm Indian, I'm this, I'm all these different things, and then my happiness is connected to those external things, we won't be able to live on the spiritual level. So that has to die. So Vaishnavas die. They perform a little funeral for the ego, and they let it all go. They throw the ashes in the holy river, and they just let it go. They die to live. But perhaps another way to understand that is that in dying, this is a more subtle thing. But when a great soul dies, all those that were appreciating their gift, they feel a deep feeling of separation from them. And in that separation, their feelings for them mature. Their connection to them matures. Their love for them matures. Their awareness of them, their remembrance of them actually grows when they're gone externally. So they're gone externally, but they're more than ever with us internally. So they die to live. By dying, they live in us still more. So that's another way that one could see it. And I would imagine there's still more ways that one could see it that are beyond me right now. But that was a wonderful question. Thank you very much. It's a beautiful poem. It's a beautiful poem. Special form. Thank you. Do we have any more questions? So many nice people. I'm imagining amongst you there must be some question. Yes? I was hoping you'd ask me.
There was supposed to be a talk about about Gita earlier, but the person didn't show up. Would you be able to speak about it?
What would you like to know about it?
Why are we all here at this event?
I'm sorry, you're asking about the event? You're asking about the Bhagavad Gita? Or you thought that this was a Bhagavad Gita class?
No, I know it was supposed to be inside, but the person didn't show up. So you're asking if anyone has questions.
I'm not sure if you got the correct information, because every night there's big kirtan going on like this in there. But we have some discussions in the morning. I believe you're there in the morning. And here we have questions and answers. But if you'd like to talk about the Bhagavad Gita, we can. Is there anything in particular you'd like to ask about the Bhagavad Gita?
No, just general.
Just in general? Are you familiar with it? Have you read it before? You're wondering why it's an important book? Well, that's a good question. The Bhagavad Gita, if you looked at all the great literature of ancient India, there's a vast library of spiritual knowledge in these books. But of them all, and so many of them are incredibly brilliant, incredibly beautiful, incredibly insightful, but amongst them all, I think it's fair to say that none of them can compete with the Bhagavad Gita in terms of how alive it remains in the lives of the people of India. That this book continues to this day, after thousands of years, to be read very widely, to be quoted and meditated on and spoken on over the course of so many centuries. Now, the question might be why? Well, I could share a couple things. One is that it's part of a much larger epic called the Mahabharata. Have you heard of that before? You see, a lot of the spiritual books of ancient India were written in dense philosophical form. And so not too many people can really access it. Sometimes certain types of priests study the books, or renunciates or philosophers. But the common people, it's harder for them. There's not as much appeal. The Bhagavad Gita was part of the Mahabharata, which was written like the most fascinating story you've ever heard in your life. And it's a huge story. It's like a great saga. The Iliad and the Odyssey, two great Greek epics. The Mahabharata, if you combine the Iliad and the Odyssey and multiplied it by 10, the Mahabharata would still be larger. It's a huge text. But it's a text that teaches the wisdom of yoga, but through most captivating stories, wherein you fall in love with the characters. You fall in love with them for the same reasons that you fall in love with a lot of characters in a movie. They're beautiful, they're dynamic, they're heroic. But not only that, they're yogis. Their character, the depth of the character that they have, has been inspiring the life in India for so many centuries. And there's quite a story about what Arjuna is the person that asks the questions in the Bhagavad Gita, what he goes through in life with his brothers. So much trauma, so much struggle, so much victory as well. But it all builds up to one crucial battle that he has to fight. And by the time that battle comes, you've been waiting for it for a long time. You've been waiting to see what's going to happen. Will he prevail, or will his evil cousins prevail? Will he be able to carry out his vows? Will he be able to avenge the pain that was caused to his loving wife, your heart is fully invested in it. And right as he enters into the battlefield, he breaks down and seems like he won't be able to fight. And this is, for the reader, your attention is fully riveted at this point. And as he breaks down, he turns to Sri Krishna, who is the supreme person in front of him as his dearest friend. And he says, you've all along you've treated me like a friend, but I want to approach you now like you're my guru. I need you to answer my questions about life. And within that conversation, 700 verses, the essence of all the spiritual activities is churned, made simple, made clear, made approachable. And approachable in a way where the other texts weren't so approachable. The other spiritual texts taught more like you need to walk away from the world in order to be a yogi. And the Bhagavad Gita shows that you can be just as much of a yogi. You can be just as much of a sage, even working in the world and embracing your responsibilities. And that is crucial. So that becomes unique. And that's another reason why I believe the Bhagavad Gita is to this day so popular and so read and so practiced. But not only does the Bhagavad Gita do that, it takes some of the teachings that were more hidden in the earlier text and brings these truths right up to the top. And ultimately that's the truth of bhakti, the truth of divine love. That at the conclusion of all the spiritual practice, one's heart opens and receives divine love and can reciprocate with that. So for many reasons the Bhagavad Gita is popular. It's put in an incredibly fascinating story. It summarizes all the great teachings of the past. It makes those teachings more accessible, and it takes them still farther in revealing the essence of the teachings as divine love. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is so important. Is that okay? Thank you. Yes, sir.
I have a few questions in one. First questions related with the soul, with the jiva. Many of us know what jiva come to the material world from tatastha. Yes? From the place where is the spiritual world connect with the material world. But with the...
Obviously there's disagreement on that point, but I don't think there's any... There's discussion on that point.
Yeah, this is what I want to ask you, yes? From where exactly jiva come? They come from the spiritual world to the material world, or they from some different place created? And also the second question is related with the jīva-svarūpa. Tama jīva-svarūpa and Raja jīva-svarūpa and Sattva jīva-svarūpa, which Tattvavadin tradition which connected with Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya give the big scripture about the nature of the soul, yes, and what the different types of soul reach the different destination, and also he told about Anandhatama, the place where is the tamasic soul come after some incarnation when they cannot already be here, they go in there. What is the nature of this Anandhatama and what's exactly happening with the jiva? Then demonic jiva come there.
Regarding Madhva's category of different types of souls, I've never studied those teachings of Madhva, right? I'm unaware of those. I've never spent time with those teachings, so I'm not the right person to ask about that.
Bhagavad Gita, 15th and 16th chapter, we also Krishna say about Sattva jīva-svarūpa and Tama jīva-svarūpa. He gives an explanation. What is the quality of the soul?
I'm unaware of that. I've read Bhagavad Gita and that hasn't been revealed to me, so I can't comment on that.
I think he's talking about three senses.
No, any case, I'm telling you what I'm capable of answering and what I'm not. And I've read Bhagavad Gita thoroughly, and I'm unaware of a category of different types of souls being expressed in Bhagavad Gita. Perhaps Madhva speaks about that, but from the teachers that I've studied under and from the Goswamis, I've heard no discussion of this. So I'm not the kind of pundit that has studied all the different acharyas. So I can't answer that question.
The first part of my question about
In the first part of your question, I'm a follower of Srila Prabhupada. My faith is placed in him. And so Srila Prabhupada spoke that the jiva is from the spiritual realm and returns to that realm. And I accept Srila Prabhupada's teachings on that. I also accept that it can be an incredibly subtle question, something that may take a deeper level of samadhi for me to truly understand. But I accept Srila Prabhupada's words as true, that we have a śiṣya in the spiritual realm and we return to that.
we come from there and go back to there.
This was Srila Prabhupada's, the way he presented it. I'm sorry?
It means we are all have some reason why we cannot stay there and come here.
Yes, but when we say come here, that language may be a little too crude to express.
Sorry,
Yeah, no, well, but not even so. Yeah, but not even. It's not even just a question of a foreign language. But in other words, to say we fall, it gives a simplistic picture of what may be actually happening. We may, in some way, fall, and in some way, never fall. That's a possibility to understand it like this. We find that Srila Prabhupada said both things. He said, in one sense, he said we fall, and on the other hand, he said we never fall. So how to harmonize these two is something subtle. That in one sense we're always there, but in another sense we're not there. And that's something that as we go deeper into our samadhi, we may be to be able to more fully understand. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. We have time for one or two more questions if someone would like to ask. Yes.
So, as far as reincarnation, that's not something that's in Bhagavad Gita. So, we do reincarnate, or we end the karma when we get cremated.
The Bhagavad Gita teaches that the soul is eternal. The soul never dies. But of course the body dies. And it describes, it's kind of like we're taking off one set of clothes and putting on another set of clothes. That's what we're doing. So the self is going through a cycle of birth and death and birth and death and birth and death. But it's a cycle that we can transcend. The cycle itself causes suffering. The taking on a new body and giving up the old body and taking on another body again and going through all the experiences that we've gone. I'm sure in your own life you've had many joys, and I assume that you've also had many pains in life. Yes? Okay. So we all are going through that. Ups and downs, cycles of happiness and distress. This is called samsara. And the Bhagavad Gita is saying that there's a way to transcend that. That there's a path to transcend that. That there are many paths to transcend that. But in the Bhagavad Gita begins to really direct one to the conclusion of it all, which is ultimately this divine love that we spoke of. I'm sorry, how do we do that? Well, it recommends a path of bhakti yoga, different practices that one can apply in their life so that their mind is always connected to God, that their thoughts are always connected to God, that their heart become more and more deeply connected to God, that there's a love within you that needs to be awakened. And so there are different practices of bhakti that can be done. Hearing about God, practicing chanting the names of God like they're doing inside, practicing meditation on God, meditation on the form of God. There's different steps that one can practice, and those are revealed in the text of bhakti. Thank you. Okay. Any more questions? Yes? You have a question? No. You want to ask it on his behalf? Yeah.
How to find the guru and how to become the śiṣya.
How to find the guru and how to become the śiṣya, how to become the disciple. What are you looking for in a guru? What do you think the guru is for? Why do you feel the need to be a disciple? What is it that you're after?
I want to find. I want to looking for guru for who can teach me to how to connect with the spiritual path and how to remove the ego, your inside. So I'm looking for this guru.
Is there a particular path that you want to follow? Do you know? Could you tell me what that path is? Is there a particular path that you want to follow, or you don't know what the path is? You don't know what the path is. You do know. What path is that you want to follow? Bhakti yoga. Okay, very good. That's that I can help with. That's the path that I'd be able to speak to. Okay. So it said that by the grace of Guru one can know God, and by the grace of God one can know Guru. Okay? God is within the heart of every living being, ready to help, particularly ready to help when one turns back. So if you're looking for that, you're right about the fact that it takes a Guru to help you walk that path. All the Shastras tell us this. How you'll find that is two things. How you'll find that Guru. Two things for you to consider. One is God will help you find that. God can send you when you really want it, when you sincerely want it. Two is you should know what that will look like when it appears. And if you're not educating yourself on that, then you might accept the counterfeit imitation rather than the real thing. So last night we were also talking about this a lot. What are the qualities of Guru? You'll find so much of that in these ancient texts. Shrotariyam Brahmanishtam. That they're well versed in all the sacred texts. Brahmanishtam, that they're fixed in Brahman. They're fixed in this consciousness themselves. You don't see them suffering the ups and downs and becoming bewildered like the average person because they're fixed in Brahman. So this is a person that can walk gracefully through the world. Based on what they've heard and realized, they've let go of all the petty things in life, right? And they've achieved a deeper state of unwavering spiritual connection. We can say it like that. That should be a true guru. Is not someone that's presenting themselves as the next enlightened person. They're not someone that's presenting themselves saying things like, I had this special experience that you haven't had, and now I know everything. And then when they speak, a lot of times they speak in very vague ways. You understand? That make them seem like they're on a higher level. What they're really trying to do is they're saying, I'm not making any of this up. I'm the representative. I'm taking a message that's been handed to me, that's awoken in me, become alive in me, given me peace, given me stability, given me shelter, given me bliss, given me truth, and I want to hand you that same message unchanged. I'm a small person in this, the Guru feels. I'm not a big shot. I'm a small person taking a message from this side and delivering it to this side. There should be no ego. They should have compassion. They should have kindness. There'll need to be an affection between Guru and disciple. When the disciple comes with sincerity, generally a real Guru can sense if there's some insincerity there. They can sense they're looking for a Guru because they want to tell all their friends they have the most special Guru. They want to be seen as if they're spiritual, or any other motive. A Guru can sense. They can sense by the questions they ask. They can sense by their level of surrender, what they're willing to give up. For them to fully accept the disciple and make a real commitment, they have to see that the disciple has decided for real that my happiness does not lie in this external material world. That I'm convinced that strategy that I've been applying for lifetime after lifetime is doomed to fail. And now I'm I'm making a conviction that I now give my life to God. When the guru sees that for real, they can see if you're faking. It won't be hard to tell for them. But if they see that the disciple really has that, then their heart becomes very soft to that disciple. And when they see that what they have to share is really being accepted, then they want to give as much as they can. Then there's this connection, a deep, special type of friendship between guru and disciple. Right? Read Bhagavad Gita. Tadvati pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. Jnaninas tattvadarshana. They can give you this truth. They can give you this knowledge because they've seen it. Tattvadarshana. They're seeing this truth. Tadvati pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Approach a spiritual master. Inquire from them. Not with attitude, but or you could say with an attitude of submission, humility. Pariprashnena, and then sevya, and also serve them. Serve them. Right. They can show you. They can impart knowledge onto you because they have seen the truth. So it's not a mere academic connection. It's not like going to college where the professor knows the information and then they give it to you. They've done their job imparting so that you've memorized the knowledge and have understood it. It's about reawakening something in you through that knowledge that's happening. It's something that they've lived, that's grown alive in their heart, and through your connection with them, it's grown alive in your heart. Right? So, therefore, sevya. It's not just like hear it, but it's also serve them. Open yourself up to that channel. There's humility becomes a channel through which grace flows. And so if the disciple comes with humility, genuine, sincere humility, then the grace from the guru flows from the heart of the guru to the heart of the disciple. Okay. Thank you very much. I think maybe we've run out of questions for tonight. It's been a little slow on the question, but it's been great. I've enjoyed spending the time with you. As always, I'll say that we are meeting every morning here, 8 a.m., wonderful yoga classes and meditation classes with Yogi Charu, 8 till 9, 9 till 10. I'm speaking on bhakti philosophy and yoga philosophy discussions from 9 till 10. So I'd love to see you there. Otherwise, I'd love to see you here. Otherwise, I'd love to see you in the Kirtan. Otherwise, I'd love to see you over here taking prasadam. Everything is happening. You're all very welcome to take part. And thank you very much for spending the evening with us. Hari Om Tat Sat.